grade 10s. We are looking at your class test on long division today. Now, there's a lot of you did very well and understand totally, but there are also some of you who go halfway and then you make a mistake, and then we have learners who totally don't understand. So please pay careful attention. Now, you will remember that we said there's 3 steps. You divide, you times, and you subtract. And you must follow those steps. So please, look at your test, do the corrections in your test book, paste your test in your test book, and then look at your mistakes. So I'm reasoning, how many times will x divide into 3x 4 times? So what you actually do is you have 3x to the power of 4, and you divide it by x. Now, this means 3 divided by 1 is 3. So it's sign, number, letter. And what do I do with my indices? I subtract my indices. You divide your numbers and you subtract the indices, which is then x to the power of 3. So now I've done that step. The next thing is now to multiply. And the difference is we multiply with both of them then there. So then you have 3x to the power of 4. And if we multiply here, we have 6x to the power of 3. And we're going to subtract. Now this is where the mistake comes in. With a subtraction, you need to change the second sign and add, which makes this one 0. So plus 7, do it on your calculators. Plus 7 minus 6 is 1x to the power of 3, and I bring down this 3x squared. So now we're going through those steps again. How many times will x divide? How many times will this x now divide into this number here? And it will be plus 1x squared times. Multiply, then you have x to the power of 3 plus 2x squared. Subtract, so we change the second signs and add. Plus 3 minus 2 is plus 1x squared, and we bring down the negative x. How many times will x divide into x squared times? Plus x times. Multiply, then you have x squared plus 2x. Positive times a positive is a positive. So now we have to subtract, so we change the second signs. Look there. So this is now negative 3x, and I bring down the negative 4. So how many times will it divide into that? Negative 3 times. If you multiply, you have negative 3x and then minus 6. Change the second signs so it becomes positive and positive, and that means that there is a remainder of 2. There's a remainder of 2. So it counted 4 marks. So the moment when there's a mistake, I deduct a mark. Right, the next one is number B, number 2. So this was actually a nice one. So again, my steps: divide, multiply, subtract. That's what I'm going to do. So how many times will x divide into 2x 3 times? 2x squared times. Multiply with each one, then you have 2x to the power of 3 plus 2x squared. Subtract. So we change the second signs and add, which makes this one now here negative 3x squared. Bring down this one, minus 6. So how many times will x now divide into this negative 3x squared times? It will be negative 3x. Multiply, then you have negative 3x squared. Remember, you add your indices, and this is the negative 3x. Now we need to subtract, so we change the second signs This one becomes a 0. Minus 6 plus 3 is negative 3x. And we bring down the negative 1. So now again, how many times will x divide into this one? Negative 3 times, multiply, then you have negative 3x minus 3. Change the second signs to add. Negative 1 plus 3 is then remainder, positive 2. It's nice if you write the remainder at the top, but we can also write it here at the bottom. Just have that sum on its own there. Right. Number 3. Divide, multiply, subtract. How many times will x divide into 4x to the power of 3 times? 4x squared. Multiply with each one. So then it is 4x3 minus 4x squared. Subtract, so we change the second signs and add. Negative 2 plus 4 is 2x squared. You bring down the next one, positive x. How many times now will x divide into this one? Plus 2x times. Multiply, then I have 2x squared minus 2x. Subtract, so we change the second signs and add. This one eliminates there. This is what happens here as well. And then plus 1 plus 2 is 3x. And we bring down the negative 3. So how many times will it now divide into that one? Plus 3 times. Look at your signs. So then we have 3x minus 3. We're still going to subtract and change the second signs. And then 0, 0. So there is no remainder. So that one is a factor. That is a factor. Number 4. How many times will x divide into 3x 4 times? 3x to the power of 3. Multiply. So then you have 3x4 minus 6x3. And we subtract, so we change the second signs and add. That one is a 0. This one is 3x to the power of 3. We bring down the next one, negative 9x squared. And we ask ourselves the same question now there. How many times will this x divide into 3x 3 times? And that is plus 3x squared. Numbers and letters. So then it's 3x to the power of 3. And this one is then negative 6x squared. Change the second signs and add. Negative 9 plus 6 is negative 3x squared. You bring down the 5x. Same question, how many times will x divide here? And that will be negative 3x times. So we multiply now, then it's negative 3x squared, and that one is then positive 6x. We subtract, so we change the second signs and add. That one gives you 0, plus 5 minus 6 is negative 1x, and the negative 2 comes down. And then finally it will divide into that one negative 1 times. Multiply, so then we have negative x plus 2. Look at this one, be careful here. So you still change the second signs, which means this one's remainder is negative 4. It's not that there is no remainder, there is a remainder. Number 5. Now look at number 5. There is one missing. There is no x to the power of 4. So you have to leave an open space. If you don't do that, your whole arrangement is going to be wrong. And it means that there's actually a 0 there. Look at that. 5, nothing. 3, 2, 1, 12. So that's why I leave that open space. So x divides into this one now. 2x to the power of 4 times. Multiply. Then you have 2x5 plus 4x to the power of 3. Subtract. Change the second signs. So now this one is negative 4x3, and you bring down the negative 15. Sorry, this one is to the power of 4, and this one is to the power of 3. If you multiply there, you get to the power of 4. So now here, if we multiply, it is 2x to the power of 4, and that one is plus 4x. Sorry, let's just go back to this one. Okay, so if we multiply here, it is then plus 4x to the power of 4. Now that we subtract, we change the second signs, which makes this one negative 4x to the power of 4. Bring down the negative 15x3. So I'm still going to look how many times will this one divide into this one. And that is negative 4x to the power of 3. Now we multiply, so it's negative 4x4 minus 8x to the power of 3. And we subtract and we change the second signs. Look here, this is often where you go wrong. Negative 15 plus 8 is negative 7x to the power of 3, bringing down the negative 9x squared. Right, how many times will x divide into this one? It is then negative 7x squared, multiply, then you have negative 7x squared minus 14x3 minus 14x squared, change the second signs, plus 0. So negative 9 plus 14 is then 5x squared. And we bring down the plus 11x. Bring down this one. So how many times will x divide into that one? Plus 5x times. So it is 5x squared plus 10x. We're going to subtract. We change the second signs. That one is a 0. And this is plus 11 minus 10, which is 1x. Bring down the 12, plus 12. Again, x will divide into this one plus 1 times. So you have 1x plus 2. Change. Don't forget to change the second signs here at the last step, because then your remainder is wrong. So I have positive 12 minus 2, and that is then remainder 10. Remainder 10. Question 6. So the same thing here. How many times will x divide into this one? And this is x to the power of 3 times. x3 minus x4, I add the indices, minus 5x to the power of 3. Subtract, change the second signs. This one eliminates, and here you have 4x to the power of 3, bringing down the negative 19x squared. So how many times will it divide? Plus 4x squared. Multiply, then you have 4x3 minus 20x squared. Okay, we change the second signs. Don't forget that step. That one eliminates. Negative 19 plus 20 is plus 1x squared. And this time you bring down the negative 3x. So how many times will it divide? Plus x times. Multiply, then you have x squared minus 5x. Subtract, change the second signs. There's an elimination, and this one is then 2x, and I bring down the negative 19. And now it will divide plus 2 times, so you multiply 2x minus 10. Change the second signs, minus plus, and that gives you, look at this one, because a lot of you made mistakes there also, it is then remainder negative 9. Remainder of negative 9. But the last two was now a little bit more difficult because here was a coefficient which you also had to take into account, but it works exactly the same. So I am still asking how many times will 2x divide into that one. So you have 10x to the power of 4 and you divide it by 2x. So we divide the numbers, which makes it 5x3. I subtract my indices. Multiply. So then you have 10x4 minus 10x to the power of 3. And we subtract. We change the second signs and add. There's your elimination. And this one is positive 6x to the power of 3. Bring down plus 14x squared. Okay, how many times will it divide? So this time you have 6x to the power of 3. Divide by 2x. So then it is plus 3x squared. Times, then we have 6x3 minus 6x squared. Subtract. So we change the second signs. And this one is then 10x squared here. This one comes down minus 14x. How many times will it divide now? 5x times. Multiply, then you have 10x squared minus 10x. And we subtract. Change the second signs. Eliminate. This one is negative 4x. And this one comes down, the negative 16. So how many times will it now divide? Negative 2 times. So then you have negative 4x plus 4. And we are eliminating here. Change the second sign, so it's plus and minus. Number 7. Oh, here is a mistake somewhere. Right, let's look at this sum again. So if we multiply there, it is then 6x to the power of 3. And if you multiply here, you have negative 6x squared. So we're going to subtract. So we change the second signs and add. This one eliminates. And now 14 plus 6 is 20x squared here. You bring down the negative 14x. So 2x divides into this one plus 10x. If you multiply now there, you get 20x squared and minus 20x. We subtract, so we change the second signs and add. So negative 14 plus 20 gives you then 6x here. And you bring down the minus 16. So 6x divided by 2x is plus 3. Multiply there, so we have 6x minus 6. Subtract, so you change the second signs and add. negative 16 plus 6 is then remainder negative 10. Remainder negative 10, that one. And let's look at the last one. So same thing here. Here's a coefficient, but you are still going to divide into that number in the same way. So this is 3x to the power of 4, multiply. Then you have 9x5 minus 15x4. So now we are subtracting, so we change the second signs here. So negative 9 plus 15 is then 6x4. Bring down this one, negative x3. So we're still looking how many times will it divide into that one, and that will be plus 2x to the power of 3. Multiply, then you have 6x4 minus 10x to the power of 3. We are subtracting, so we change the second signs. This one eliminates. Negative 1 plus 10 is plus 9x to the power of 3. Bring down that one, negative 12x squared. How many times will it divide? Plus 3x squared times. Multiply. Then you have 9x3, and there it will be minus 15x squared. So we change the second signs and add. So this one is then 3x squared. You bring down the plus x. How many times will it divide? Plus x times, remember you divide now with that 3, so then we get 3x squared minus 5x. Okay, and change the second signs and add. This one eliminates. This one is 6x, and we bring down the negative 11. How many times will it divide now into 6x times? And that will be plus 2, multiply, then you have 6x, so then you have 6x, oh, here we have that one, and the remainder is then negative 1. So plus x, remainder, negative 1. Right, so please look at your mistakes. A lot of you did very well.
This station subscribes to the Namibia Media Code of Conduct and is regulated by the Media Ombudsman, appointed to deal with complaints about media content that breach this code. This includes content that is inaccurate, unfair, or that invade privacy. We encourage aggrieved members of the public to submit complaints to the Media Ombudsman via mediaombudsmannamibia.org. The Media Ombudsman is supported by the Editors Forum of Namibia, advocating for ethical and quality journalism.
ShopRite has always been here for you, and we're committed to bringing you the best value. Get more for less with our Essentials combo. That includes 750ml Right Brand sunflower oil, 3 kilos Polana macaroni or pasta elbows, 5 kilos Sugar King white sugar, 10 kilos Top Score maize meal, 10 kilos Buck Pro Fed Cook flour mix, 10 kilos Rice King rice, all for $500. Save $50. Only at ShopRite.
Now let's just see what we know up to now. Sequences. We said you get others, but specifically now we're looking at APs and GPs. What is the difference between the two? How will you know? Sometimes you must say that. Here you add or subtract. Here you divide, or actually you multiply with a whole number or with a fraction in there. And we said the nth term, that was what we were looking at yesterday, is A plus N minus 1, D. And the GP then, AR N minus 1. The other thing that we looked at yesterday is how do I get that D, that common difference, and that is then term 3 minus term 2, which must be equal to term 2 minus term 1. That's how you can prove that it's an AP. Here R, the common ratio, and this is then term 3 divided by term 2, which is equal to term 2 divided by term 1. Perhaps you can count how many times it goes out in a period, because they want to know that. Okay, so I think the homework was now about this part, where we're looking at AR N as minus 1. N, the nth term, is the pattern. That's what you're looking for, the pattern then there. Okay, so we are on page, what was the homework? 44. 43. And 44, yeah. So determine the 7th term in the following sequence. So I can see it's a GP, especially if it, so this is now, try now 43. Okay, yeah, so you can see that. It's a nice idea to always write down what do you have. A is 5, R is 3. I need to find the nth term, and the nth term is in this case going to be 7. So it's nice if you write down what you have, and then you can see what you need to determine. So this is then a GP. So I'm working with AR N minus 1. A is the first term, 5. R is 3. And then 7 minus 1 is to the power of 6. But now be very careful with your calculators. The rule is power first, then multiply. Power first, then multiply. It's not 15. No, it's power first, then multiply. Usually this will give us large numbers. What did you get? 3, 6, 3, 5. 4, 5. Okay, 3, 6, 4, 5. So it will give us large numbers. When we work with these exponents, they are growing very rapidly. Right, the next one, determine the 9th term in the following sequence. Now, A is equal to 9. Is this an AP or a GP? This is a GP. So what is your common ratio? If you use that formula, what is it? What is the common ratio? Come, how do we determine it? 9 over negative 6 is equal to negative 6 over 4. That's how you get that R. And what is R? Negative or negative 3 over 2. If we simplify it, if you simplify this or this, then you get negative 3 over 2. That is then your common ratio there. And we need to find N is 9. We need to find the 9th term. So this is now AR N minus 1. So Ruan, A is 9. R is negative 3 over 2. And N minus 1 is to the power of 8. Right. Rain, what did you get there? Power first, then multiply. So you can use your calculators, but you just need to use it correctly.